Kim Spitak from 10 Sigma. Welcome to episode 93 of Transition Tuesday. Today I'm going to talk about people first language. Right now I'm going to switch over to a short slide presentation to share this information with you.
In today's video, I will discuss what is people first language and why it's important to know about and use. I will also discuss how people first language is related to employment and some guidelines and activities for using it. So let's get started. About 50 million or 1 in 5 Americans report having a disability. People first language first appeared in 1988 and has been and is the first step in establishing an atmosphere of acceptance and empowerment. People first language is a way of communicating that reflects knowledge and respect for people with disabilities by choosing words that recognize the person first and foremost as a primary reference and not his or her disability. People first language seeks to put emphasis on the person, seeks to describe the person and not the condition. Just remember, in the end, it's best to call someone by name, not by label, if at all possible. People first language eliminates stereotypes through the power of words. Too often we fail to realize the power of our words, which either empower or limit people with disabilities. While having a disability is part of who a person might be, it is not the whole of any person. Descriptors like handicapped or disabled are inaccurate. Usually these kind of descriptors are medical diagnoses. People first language respectfully places the person before the disability. The disability is not the problem. What is routinely referred to as a problem actually reflects a need. For example, John doesn't have behavior problems. He needs behavior supports. Let's talk about people first language related to employment. The unemployment rate for persons with a disability was 10.5% in 2016, about twice that of those who had no disability, which was 4.6%. It is likely that the unemployment rate for persons with a disability is so high because the person's disability comes before the person. The problem is never a person's disability, but the attitudes of others. And attitudes drive actions, especially when the disability comes before the person. If more employers believed adults with disabilities have or could learn valuable job skills, then we wouldn't have a large unemployment rate of people with disabilities. Because people with disabilities are an underutilized and untapped segment of the workforce, employers who use people first language in the workplace can help foster a culture of respect that supports recruitment and retention of a skilled workforce, as well as a valuable customer base. Ways employers can use people first language in the workplace include verbally. Use people first language when communicating verbally with employees and customers. During orientation, include information about people first language during new employee orientation. Signage. Ensure signage and other posted materials around the workplace include people first language. Through communications, they can incorporate people first language in internal and external digital communications. And at meetings, they can talk about people first language during their staff meetings. One of your bonuses today is a flyer that you or your students can hand out to employers on people first language. Now I'm going to talk about some guidelines for using people first language that you can use when teaching your students. The first one is to be sensitive when choosing the words you use. Also, recognize that people with disabilities are ordinary people with common goals for a home, a job, and a family. Talk about people in ordinary terms. Emphasize abilities, not limitations. For example, say, a man walks with crutches, not he is crippled. Avoid negative words that imply tragedy, such as afflicted with, suffers, victim, prisoner, and unfortunate. Recognize that a disability is not a challenge to be overcome, and don't say people succeed in spite of a disability. Use handicap to refer to a barrier created by people or the environment. A few more guidelines are: use a disability to indicate a functional limitation that interferes with a person's mental, physical, or sensory abilities, such as walking, talking, hearing, and learning. For example, people with disabilities who use wheelchairs are handicapped by stairs. And promote understanding, respect, dignity, and positive outlooks. Here are some examples of people first language. You can find charts like this one on the internet. I'm going to go through a few of these. Some examples of what you should say would be people with disabilities, people without disabilities, a person who has Down syndrome. Some examples of what not to say is the handicapped, the disabled, Down's person, Mongoloid, Mongol, the autistic, a crippled, and confined to a wheelchair or wheelchair bound. Lastly, I'm going to talk about teaching people first language. Many of these activities have to do with disability awareness. You could have the students make and hand out brochures, posters, and flyers to employers and even parents and around the school. In the classroom, you could do scenarios, role-playing, and discussion. Here's an example of a group discussion. You would say to the students, someone you know casually uses the word retarded to refer to a friend who doesn't have a disability. Someone you know uses the word retarded in a derogatory fashion to refer to someone who has a disability. So these are the questions. How would you handle each of these situations? Would you handle them differently? Why or why not? And then discuss this situation with others in the class. Can you think of several different ways to respond? For today's bonus, I'll be sending you resources and activities for teaching people first language.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you use this information to teach your students and others about people first language. Be sure to check your email for the bonus we just sent over. If this is the first time you've ever seen an episode of Transition Tuesday, click the link below to receive the bonus. Be sure to like and share the video and leave a comment or suggestion for a future episode of Transition Tuesday. Have a great week. See you next Tuesday.